Good day, friends and family of the Naraya. Today we're here not for a fireside chat, but for a new um, discussion, and we're calling it Connecting from Afar. And we each piece of us have a part of the puzzle with what we're going to be discussing, because, like the old saying goes, wisdom is everywhere and with everyone. And so we're going to get into the depths of this. We're going to talk about what we're going to do with this new project. And by the way, the fireside chats will continue at a later date. But the one thing that I'd like to start out with, and then I'll kick it to Joan Henry and Rosette Royale, who are with us today as well, is that a lot of speculation has been happening about, well, we're going to have a physical dance this year. And the answer to that is, not anytime soon. We'll see. We'll see what the spirit provides. We'll see what happens with the COVID vaccines and everything else too. So in our social distancing, what I feel and what we all feel is that we're slowly losing the in-person connections we've created for decades. It's so wonderful to see each other and hug friends and family. Like Lainey says, it's like a family reunion, which indeed it is. And dancing and singing and the songs we sing and basically intermingling our lives together. And in the past year, that hasn't happened at all. And we're doing the best we can with the dancing from afar. But this is called connecting from afar. And so we're going to get into the meat of that. So I'm going to turn it over to Joni and Rosette and see if they can flesh that out a little bit for you.
おしよといじゅしゃてなねだごど。Nigi da chichiligi. Even though we can't see your faces, we feel your hearts. And once again, we're here. Claude and I have trotted out our adventurous video and Zoom skills, which increase every day, as it turns out. And we invited Rosette along for the ride, a totally worthy and wonderful guest artist. And so this could go anywhere between the three of us. I'm just giving you all a heads up. Clyde and I have been having lots of conversations pursuant to doing a fireside chat about the speculative future of the dance. Yeah. And I mean lots and lots of conversations. And through this all, the theme that prevails is that no matter what happens, what is not happening anytime soon is an in-person dance. That's not supported by dreams, nor wishes, nor fear. It's not supported by what we know about the virus and vaccines and what have you. It's not supported by what we know in the world right now. And we're responsible to take care of one another. That's part of what we think about and talk about and do in the dance all the time. And so this challenge, as we've said in previous chats, it's really got its own gifts. We even think about, I've come to even think of things occasionally. I'll say, oh, that's a gift of COVID. That's a pandemic gift, because we've been offered opportunities to develop different skills and to be present in different ways than we are normally. In some cases, skills that people weren't thinking about, which go into the way we dance from afar. The way we connect from afar is an expansion of that. As things sit now, it would be appropriate to think of our dance experience in connection as episodic. We come together, we do a dance, and then we'll see you next dance. Maybe that's next year for some of us. Maybe that's the dance that comes after. Maybe that's several dances after, depending on what you need. And that sense of the episodic is kind of like a spider web with pieces missing, like unwoven segments. It's not going to be really good for catching flies. In this case, it's also not going to be really good for holding ourselves in a basket that's safe and secure. The basket we weave so carefully at every dance and have been working to weave so carefully across the ethers in the dances from afar. We realize that there's more because people are two-leggeds and live in community and have need of community. That's a part of being a two-legged person. The animals all know that already. They're smart. They all follow their original instructions. Two-leggeds, sometimes it takes us a little while to get it. But as we do, we realize that there have to be ways to connect that aren't necessarily connected directly to a dance, but connect in the same ways that we have of holding one another in our communities locally, because a lot of us aren't seeing our local people any more than we're physically seeing people at a dance, people who would usually show up. This idea of connecting from afar is with the concentration and the effort of reaching out in the same way that we reach out to others at a dance. Somebody you may not know, you might sit down at dinner at. Somebody you may not know, maybe there's another way to connect. Somebody you do know and you only see once a year and you're thrilled to do that, that's somebody we could reach out to. And we've been thinking about ways that's possible and how that will help us to remain a better interwoven community. Because ultimately, the dance of its own is not a community, it's a ceremony. What makes the community is the people and the way that we connect and interconnect and operate, sharing events and bringing the events in our lives that are not shared together.
Well, I'd like to ask a question too, Joni. What lessons can we learn from the past year of dancing from afar? And then, of course, what new ideas are we listening to? So I'd like to give that question to both you and Rosette.
Well, one thing that this past year has got me to think about is a lot about what happened when we were together. Mm-hmm. And one of the things which I remember from dances, physical dances, when we were all together around the tree, is there were always people who couldn't make it. And so how did we remember those people? Sometimes someone asked to have their name or prayers spoken to the tree, right? So that was one way we could do it. Another way was just like to mention someone's name in the circle. I can remember remembering, oh, this person's not here. Remember when this person was here last year? And just having a great laugh with other people or a great moment about that person. And so one of the things which I have been thinking about is how do we call people to the circle? Like, how do we remember those people who aren't there? And so now that we are mostly by ourselves or seeing each other in such limited ways, I think, how can I call those people in? And this is an idea that really just came to me the other day, was to think about all the people that I love and just write their names down on a piece of paper and then put their names on that paper on my altar. So that way, when I go past that altar one time, I might be praying, someone's name might appear in my vision. And then that way, I'm calling that person into this space with me, into the dance. So that's one thing that I've thought about. I guess I think about it because as the vision keeper, I see the names of the people who are registered for a dance. So I'm already thinking about them, already praying for them. And I realized there's so much power in just seeing someone's name. And I thought putting that name, your loved ones, their names on your altar, it's a great way to draw them in.
That really resonates with the ways in which I frequently work with the wolves, and how one of the ways that people are prayed for is when somebody gets sick, I'll sometimes say, do you have a picture? Do you get a picture? because, or I'll ask somebody for a picture because imagery, if I don't know someone, the imagery is strong, what I am able to get from that. But also, just in terms of being able to reach for that from afar, if I don't happen to be in close proximity, if I'm at work and the bundle's here, then my ability to thread myself to that and offer prayers for that person and also be accessible to what may be happening with that person is there more because of their name or their picture or whatever. Everybody's got a different way that they do that with the ways that they pray. But since the wolves work is kind of what's the word I want for this? They kind of gallop from dance to dance and check on everybody. Since that's the way that bundle moves from, and keeps track of folks, it helps me to be connected in different ways to them. And I thought, well, gosh, I found myself saying that to somebody the other day who said, well, I'm worried about so-and-so. And I said, you got a picture? You got an altar? Let's see. Put them on there. No, put them on there. Say their name. And the thing about the names, that's really powerful, Rosette, because we were talking very recently in a global community that I've been working with about making sure that in the course of things happening at the very beginning that people simply say their names and so that they resonate because, we are songs. We are vibration. That's too good for me to make up. Ask a physicist.
I'd like to mention, with Native American people, a lot of people have many names. And, there's names that's just that you use when you're doing ceremony, or there's names that are just intimate between you and the spirit. Mm-hmm. When it's like the idea of when you think of a person. Usually when I do this, I think of a person and that person's on my mind. So I call them up or I get in contact with them some way. And this is a wonderful way of getting in contact and sharing with each other how our lives are going, how things are going with you. It doesn't have to be anything really earth-shaking. That's the thing. It could just be a simple hello. We can weave a stronger web, like you were talking about, Grandmother Spider, not just to survive, but to thrive during this period of time.
Well, I've got another thing that has happened here. I live in Seattle, and one of our dance elders, leaders, Thundercloud, lives here. Mm-hmm. So Thundercloud has been in an apartment for 23 years. And several years ago, we started this process of trying to find him a new apartment. So it's very fortunate that the way the spirit worked, that he was granted this new apartment. He's got this apartment now in Seattle. Through his window, he can see the Olympic Mountains and Puget Sound. I mean, it's gorgeous. The view is amazing that he has. But, it takes a lot for anybody to move. And so when we really considered how do we move Thundercloud, we realized, it's going to take a community of people to help with this effort. And in a way, we were calling it like a little Naraya, a little dance for all people, because we brought together people in our community to help. Can you do this part? Can you do this part? Can you receive items at your house and deliver them? Can you help drive Thundercloud there that day? Can you help set up the apartment? Can you help take them out to get some errands done? It was like a dance, like how you put on a dance. And there were all these people connected around this elder. And just all of our prayers that we directed toward him, it was like we had a little mini dance for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So it made me think about our other elders that we used to see or were used to seeing in the circles when we're in person, but maybe we now can't see them. But maybe groups of dancers can pray, connect with elders who are important to their physical dances. So we were just blessed to be able to do it in person, but that may not be how it works, but it could just be maybe having a group call with an elder somewhere as a community. Like that's another way to stay together, to keep your dance alive until we can get back together with our elders and just give them real hugs. Maybe we have to do a virtual hug for a little while with our.
Well, I agree, that we can creatively connect with each other in a lot of different meaningful ways and bridge the gaps, no matter where we are, what we do. And, so in many ways, our dancing for the past 30 years has been preparing ourselves for this very moment. Well, Jody, we've had quite the discussion so far today. And I think that perhaps you should reiterate what we've discussed so far. There's been so many wonderful ideas that have come out of this conversation. So let's review them a little bit and then we'll go on.
So let's see. In the course of reaching out, we've talked about dancers reaching out to one another individually, either in your community or someone you know outside a community. Start with people you know. We've talked about putting a name or a list of names on your altar because your prayers are important as a way of connecting to dancers, or even pictures. We've talked about getting together with elders, an elder on a Zoom in a group meeting, just to connect again, and which enlivens the elder as much as the community. You may have other ideas about how to interface, how to reach out. And as a matter of fact, and we're working on ideas because there's a lot to learn from our Dancing from Afar, which is really the big seed, but only one of the ways in which we are able to be together, to reach out together, and to maintain our community. This interweaving only happens with all of us. And as we do that, we seek more and more to be aware of the different places in which we are supported in doing that. These fireside chats are some of us. It's one way that we stay connected. And we're not the only place that support comes from. One of the biggest supports for the dance in its course of existence is the NCPC, which was formed for that very purpose. And they're really interested in looking at how they're interacting now that dancers aren't physical, and looking more at how to reach out to dancers.
I just joined the board last year, and it has been a great experience. It's been informative. And, first I just really kind of sat back and watched, like you do at a dance. When you first show up at a dance, you learn by watching and listening and see what's shown to you, what you hear. So that's really what I did at the beginning of my time on the board. But as I started listening and watching, I was really fascinated by the ways that the NCPC board has really been trying to find ways to connect with the dances. How do you support the dances at this time when we are connecting from afar? How do we keep our circle healthy and whole, even though our circle may not be joined together physically, holding hands, singing songs? How do we keep the tree in the center of our circle, even when we can't see the tree? So that has been a really great lesson of being on the board of the NCPC, is really seeing how proactive and engaged and thrilled board members are to be able to do this kind of work. So we are always thinking about the communities, the individual dance communities, and how they all reflect the whole and how they are connected to the whole.
The idea came up to the NCPC, well, how are we really supporting the dancers? What's a way we can do that? How do we help with this interweaving? And a marvelous idea has come out of that. The latest project proposed to NCPC that they're really excited about is like a video snapshot. It's like a little Polaroid. These short videos could be, hello, how are you? Here's where I live. Here's what's happening for me right now. Or they could be a walk through your garden. Show us who you are. Share that with the community. I think we'd all have a much stronger sense of connection, a much stronger sense of who's in that circle with us, and not just in the circles we're used to being in.
Basically, they want to see you, what you have to share with us.
One of my favorite parts of a dance is when people speak their intentions, right? And we go around the circle. There's like such reverence in that moment. You're there, you're listening to what someone else says. Maybe some of what someone says like reverberates as part of your own intention, your own prayer that someone else speaks, right? And we all get to fill the space, that circle in which we're dancing with our prayers and intentions. I love that moment when it happens. And, that's what these little Polaroids can do too. They can help us fill the space that seems so empty when we're apart from each other, right? Like Joni was talking about the names and the vibration of names that happens, right? The speaking of who you are and what's going on for you helps to fill the space inside of us, like inside of our hearts, so that when we're afar, we come closer together that way.
Hello, family. I am sending you love. This is Totoro, or Jeffrey, as some of you may know me, or even Creosote. I'm sending you this message of love from Portland, Oregon, or the ancestral lands of the Cowlitz and the Kayapuyya, the Clackamas, the Yakima, the Multnomah, and all the great people of the Pacific Northwest. I have been asked to send a video from my tree, as she is lovingly called, and she's supporting me right now. And this is a tree not far from my apartment in the heart of the city, but a piece of nature and a place for me to come to when I want to say a prayer and send energy and love through the earth to the people that mean the most to me.
Hi Naraya, hi Dance Circles, hi dancers, Miss Reba, Rebecca, Little Tootie. I'm the treasurer of NCPC, and I'm a dancer of Wolf Creek and Santa Cruz predominantly. I love dancing the fire, and I miss you. I miss holding your hand and sidestepping and singing my guts out for our collective awakening. And what a year we've been in. You're finding me tonight in my studio. It's a home studio with 2 kilns and lots of raw clay waiting for me to figure out what to do next. I'm kind of in between 2 projects, so it's that awkward, lumpy moment where you're not really in it yet, and the other thing is done, and you don't know what you're doing, and you have a lot of doubt, or I do. But it's also exciting, and I can feel something coming that's going to be an interesting project. So I send you my love from potential, the place of possibly maybe something coming to be.
You might want to do it with the...
It's hard to do it because I can't actually lift it. I'm going to see with it.
I don't know about that, but we'll try. Remember me,
all like a spider web. It's interwoven, person on person, event on event. And we're all connected in one way or another. And so the NCPC is very excited about sponsoring this and working with this wonderful idea and vision. But to do so, we have to, of course, keep the NCPC running. And the only way that we do that is by your donations. And that has helped in so many ways this past year. It's helped the people on the reservation here. It's helped buy food for them and heat and all kinds of things, our clothing drive. This year working with the social services here with the tribe and so many other things. We helped Thundercloud move, for instance, and so many, many different ways that we've touched our elders and the people throughout the Naraya community. And so we got to keep up that good work, folks. We got to keep up that good work. The perspective has totally, in a way, shifted and changed. We've all had to work with a new vision, a new way of living, a new way of life. And so far, we've done pretty good. I should think so. Thumbs up to all of you. Yeah, hands up too. Well, thank you for your medicine in the world, all of you people. And I say that from my heart. And may the Spirit bless you, and you have blessed days to come. Thank you.